Hello there, a warm welcome into the show. Adrian Healy in the big chair with Alejandro Moreno and Shaka his company. We have Gab Marcotti waiting in the wings. Shaka is back, looking rested and rejuvenated.
Well, yes.
That's what I did.
And the fake beard is gone. That's good.
It has, indeed. The beard was shaved off in recognition that all is not settled in Serie A, I believe. There are still some issues left to be solved in Italian football, namely who's going to reach the Champions League spots. Juventus, of course, already crowned champions. These were the standings heading in to Sunday's crucial games. Inter, Atalanta, Roma, Milan, even down as far as Torino, still with an interest in the Champions League spot. We're able to celebrate, lift the title, the Scudetto, in front of their fans, give Max Allegri the send-off he would have been looking for. Juventus 11 points clear, but the important positions haven't changed too much. Atalanta held to a point. They are now tied with Inter on 66. The two of those just a point ahead of Milan. Roma a further 2 points back. So it's down to those four now trying to get the last two spots. And next week's games, well, let's focus on the Milan teams. Inter seem to have the inside track, don't they? A very winnable home game against Empoli. And mind you, AC Milan will fancy their chances having to travel to Spal. Roma have Parma at home, so it's all in the melting pot, as they say. Let's bring Gab Marcotti in. Gab, who's good when the dust settles? Who do you think is going to be left standing in the Champions League spots?
Well, look, obviously Atalanta and Inter have the edge on paper, right? Because they have the point lead, so they control their destiny. I would strongly disagree with you to say that the Empoli game is very winnable for the simple reason that Empoli need points to survive. They're 1 point above the relegation zone. They're competing with Genoa to stay up. Genoa away to Fiorentina. So I think this is going to be a really, really, really tough game for Inter. Again, they should win because they have better players. But certainly it's a much, much tougher task than Milan away to Spal or Atalanta taking on Sassuolo.
Which way do you see it going, guys? Atalanta almost had those extra 2 points, and they had it snatched away.
But I think in the end, if you're Atalanta going to Juventus, I think you take the point. That is a positive result. Of course, the way the game progressed, you might have thought, okay, we'll get 3 points here and we're set. Not so, but I still think it's a valuable point for Atalanta. And it's one that in the end I think is going to make a difference for them. Atalanta gets in. What you saw from Inter today was discouraging on so many levels. You're needing results. You need points. And there were moments in that second half where defensively you just saw a team that you say, you know what, we're not feeling it. Forget it. Just go ahead, walk in, score the goals. When you have that sort of attitude, that sort of mindset, it's difficult to make an argument for a team like this. However, if it's about talent, then you would think that Inter would be good enough to get the result that they need. They're going to squeeze in, maybe back their way into a top four position. I think still Atalanta and Inter.
As Gab points out, Empoli fighting for their Serie A lives. Perhaps not the sort of team you want to be playing, but...
No, but you give Inter the opportunity to play against Empoli, and Champions League berth is what's at stake. You take that. I agree with Ali. What you saw from Inter today, desperately disappointing. On the converse of that, Atalanta just a point against crown champions Juventus, but deserved a whole lot more. So they come into their game against Sassuolo with... playing with more confidence, playing better football in all honesty. And despite AC Milan's late push now, right, I just think it's going to be too little, too late. I think Atalanta and Inter grab those last two spots.
The top four stays
as
it is. Little bit of a curious item before the game, Gab. We saw Cristiano Ronaldo getting presented with some sort of trophy. We called it an inverted commas MVP. It wasn't really an MVP award. What's your understanding as to what this was, Gab?
So this is a new award. It's a series of awards, actually, that SERIE A has decided to give out in collaboration with their statistical and analytics and match tracking partners. They came up with some sort of complicated statistical formula, which, hey-ho, funny enough, made Cristiano Ronaldo the most valuable player. I can see the logic before everybody sneers there. 22 goals, I think 12 or 13 assists off the top of my head. it's hard to argue with that. They did give out a whole bunch of awards. Quagliarella, the best striker. Koulibaly, the best defender. Nobody's going to argue with those. Some might argue a little bit with the goalkeeper, Handanovic, and especially in midfield, Milinkovic-Savic winning the best midfielder award.
Well, we also, of course, saw Max Allegri bidding his fond farewells to the Turin crowd, Gab. What is next for him? Let's start with Allegri. What do you see in his future?
Well, I think in his immediate future, he's going to take some time off. He knows that, he's still a commodity out there. I think it's difficult for him at this stage to think about moving, immediately to another Serie A club. I would expect that unless some big club from elsewhere comes knocking, he's going to take time off, maybe learn a foreign language, do a bit of this old sabbatical thing, which has served the likes of Ancelotti and Guardiola before him pretty well, and basically be available for the next opportunity that comes around. It would make no sense, I think, for him to move to another club straight away.
And of course, the other side of that what next coin is Juventus, Gab. In your mind, who are the runners and riders in terms of the man to replace Max Allegri?
Well, the key decision they have to make, and they've offered very few clues on this, is do you go for a pragmatist who can work with this group of players? You've committed enormous amounts of money to a whole bunch of veterans, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo, but not just him, from Matuidi to Ramsey to Khedira to Bonucci to Chiellini. You have a window of opportunity to win. And so one school of thought says, no, bring in somebody who's not going to complain, who's going to manage these guys, who's a good man manager, and that would be somebody like Simone Inzaghi. Jose Mourinho, some might balk at the man manager aspect of it, but in the right context that could work, but it's not going to happen. Or do you change philosophy? Do you say, you know what, everybody in football is playing attacking, high-pressing football. Let's go down that route. And obviously, the names that I've mentioned there, I think, are pretty fanciful, like Klopp, Guardiola, Pochettino, Sarri even. I'd keep an eye on Gasperini in that category. And the other name which popped out, which is probably more closer to the first type of manager, is Sinisa Mihajlovic. But it's still early. They've offered no indication of where they're going with this.
Yes.